Hello, friends, and welcome once again to Figure Study, where we appreciate the form in Transformers, and finally getting around to the box, to Masterpiece Soundwave. It has been almost a year since I got my hands on this guy, honestly. It's totally my fault for taking so long. I was holding off because I wasn't sure about going over all the different cassettes, and then I ended up selling off most of them. So just letting you know right now, if you're interested in seeing all the cassettes, all I've got left are Laserbeak and Ravage. Rumble, Frenzy, and Buzzsaw are no longer in my possession. Not that I think that's a huge problem, but in case you're wondering my thoughts on them real quick, Buzzsaw was a weaker repaint of Laserbeak. Laserbeak's coloring is superior, and Rumble and Frenzy are both eh. So that's my thoughts on those. Anyway, Masterpiece Soundwave. Oh, this guy. I have been so wanting to get my hands on this guy, and thanks to a re-release of the, I guess you could say, the Toys R Us version, although they weren't actually marketing it as the Toys R Us version, but it was a re-release that came with Soundwave, Rumble, Frenzy, Buzzsaw, Laserbeak, Ravage, and some other accessories like the Megatron pistol and Energon cubes and whatnot. Mostly stuff that I wasn't super interested in, but I also didn't want to pay a ton of money for the Takara version of Soundwave that just came with Laserbeak and then have to pay extra for Ravage. So that re-release was something I was very happy to get my hands on. So here's the re-release minus virtually all of the extra accessories, because that's just how I roll. And let's get the cassettes out of the way real quick, because they're tiny. Alright, so take out both Laserbeak and Ravage here. Let's Soundwave off to the side for now. So, Laserbeak's cassette mode is fine. You know, it's a cassette mode. And then on the other side, it's ugly as sin, because everything's all tucked away. But the side that faces out looks fine. It's even got like the telltale kind of two lines that you typically see in like cassettes from back in the day. Not bad looking. I've always been, honestly, really fascinated with what they were able to do with just, you know, a tiny rectangle. Just how many different shapes they could make from it. It's really impressive. I do like the red, black, and silver color scheme too. I think that looks really good. And you can kind of see it's like a little bit of molding in there for the teeth that grip onto the things that spin the cassette. Little gauge up top there that normally in a normal cassette you would see like how much tape was left on either side, and this would be the way you could kind of gauge how much time was left. But it's not showing that detail here, which is fine because this is rather tiny, and this is also where you poke out the bird head. So whoop, get back in there. But no, it looks good, and I do, like I said, I like the red, black, and silver color scheme. And then Ravage is just black and silver, which is still a nice color scheme. His cassette mode is a little bit weaker than Laserbeak's, because Laserbeak doesn't really have anything in the way of gaps, aside from just, you know, back in the you know, little parts that are meant to spin. Ravage has a few additional gaps. And that's a shame, but because you can see, like, you know, right in here and a little bit down here. I mean, it's fine because it's tiny and it's going to be tucked in Soundwave's chest when it's in this mode anyway. So, not a huge deal, but yeah, it's a shame they couldn't quite close it in better. Now, on to Soundwave. There's not a whole lot to say about his alt mode, really. He's a brick. He's an old microcassette player, recorder thing. And he's fine. I'm a little bit not happy. Well, it's fine, really, but like just the plastic here, it doesn't look. I don't know what happened here. There's like, it's like this little thing up in the corner that I think is intentional. Maybe, but then you've got like these kind of semicircles all over the place that just kind of really, if you're looking closely or if it's lit a certain way, it really just kind of mars the nice clear plastic window that they've got going there with the Decepticon logo and everything. I wish that the clear plastic window was a little bit cleaner. That said, on the inside you can kind of see there's some nice molding, so hooray for that, at least. And I do like the overall color scheme of Soundwave's alt mode, just that really kind of dark navy blue with the silver and gold details. It looks nice. And this is actually one of the things, like I knew I could have gotten my hands on Sound Blaster, but I actually really liked Soundwave's color scheme over Sound Blaster's, because Sound Blaster's was a little bit too simple for my taste, and there were certain details that just didn't quite mesh. But Soundwave has that nice, like, double gold stripe that goes across a couple of different sections and into what I think is supposed to be speakers. And then you've got the rewind, play, pause, or rather play, stop, record. No pause button, that's a little weird. I like the record battery light, even though it doesn't actually light up. It's still a nice feature. And I know people have talked about this, but I will talk about it as well because I think it's nifty. How the microcassette player has all of these little fake slots. Like, that may be a fake slot for an SD card, or it might just be sliders, I can't quite tell. A little switch. You got this thing that doesn't actually do anything, but can move up and down. And then on this side, you've got the volume knob, which kind of moves, but not all the way. But then you actually have, like, a plug for power cable, and some other added things in here, like plugs for headphones and stuff like that. And what's neat is it doesn't actually accomplish anything, but you could totally plug headphones in there. And I know this has been pointed out before, but I still think it's a neat little detail, just the fact that you can do all that. On the back is where it starts to fall apart a little bit. He's a little bit messy, but it's Soundwave. Cleaning up the back would have been quite tricky. And the bottom too. But still, I mean, from the front and the sides, he looks good enough, and he's a box. There's not a whole lot you can do with it. But I do, as I said, appreciate this blue, silver, and gold color scheme. Now, real quick, let's do size thing. So, him, there's Samus, and Titan's Return Deluxe. I mean, you know, he's been around for a while, so I doubt there are many of you watching this who don't know what size Masterpiece Soundwave is in his alt mode, but just in case. And we'll be doing the same for robot mode, so, you know, be prepared for that. And speaking of robot mode, how about we get into that right now? And here we have Masterpiece Soundwave in all of his Soundwavy glory. I like this guy a lot. I really, really like this guy. The transformation is somewhat reminiscent of the classic Soundwave toy, which I did actually, that is one of the handful of G1 Transformers that I actually owned. Well, I say handful, but it usually ends up being that I owned a lot more of them than I thought. Anyway, this looks really good. I really, really like the way this is. This is a neat Soundwave. One could even call it a masterpiece, because that's original. Soundwave looks great. There's a lot more silver in this mode. A lot more visible silver. And I'm cool with that. I like just the fact that it's like silver with a little bit of blue all along the legs, silver in like the forearms, and then everything else is kind of that same dark navy-ish blue. And I just realized I missed a step during the transformation. There we go. I forgot to slide his torso forward. So, Soundwave. Looks great. Really does. I always liked Soundwave's design. It's very simple, very boxy, but in a way that really, really works. I like how, I mean, he's mostly silver, but that silver makes a lot of the molded details stand out a little easier. Like the molding on the thighs, molding on the forearms. Just like little details that kind of stand out because of that silver coloring. And it looks good, and it's a nice silver too. I also like the kind of swept back thing they've got going on here in the forearms. The fact that while his elbows are here, you have this bit kind of sticking off as like almost like a, I guess, a little bit extra bit of an arm guard. I don't know. I don't really know the function. I just think it looks neat. Yeah, he looks really, really nice. I'm still somewhat bummed and distracted by the divots in the plastic in his chest, but that's overall fine. One of the things that I do think is really neat about his transformation is the fact that his shoulder cannon thing is attached to his torso. Like, you can't, this doesn't come off. It's just on a hinge and it rotates, and I think that's great. Because, I mean, he never doesn't have this on his shoulder, so it makes sense. And it's got some little detail in there, which is nice. The red definitely pops against that dark blue. And while we're here, you can see there's some nice innocuous details on the shoulders. That little red stripe on the forearms. It's just a nice little extra bit of color that I think keeps it from being too bland. You get a little bit of yellow in the venting in the knees, which is kind of hidden if you're looking at him straight on, just because of the angle. But it still looks good. He is a nifty fellow, and I like his proportions. He's kind of spot on from what I remember from the cartoon, which it's been a while. So the only real gripe I have with Soundwave's robot mode as far as proportional stuff goes is the fact that his legs move forward on this weird hinge, so they're not quite right in terms of where they move. I'm also not entirely sure why his arms move out like this and up like this. Just seems kind of overkill. But, I guess it gives you options. If you prefer to have it like closer to the torso, I guess. Let's look at that face. That is a great Soundwave face. I know there's some kind of back and forth with people, I guess, about the eyes, whether they are better red or gold. I don't care enough either way to really be bothered by which version anyone prefers. I have the one with the gold eyes, so that is technically my preference, but it's really no big deal to me either way. The face itself, though, does look really good. I like that silver on the face mask and like the little things on the side. It's Soundwave. There's not much else I can add to it. It does look quite nice. Whether it's yellow or red, I think it works well with the silver and the blue combo there. It's got that little bit of silver in the head crest to kind of add just a little bit more detail, because I think, yeah, this blue would have looked a little bit too plain up top if that little added bit wasn't there. This is really nice. This is a nice head sculpt. I don't remember entirely how accurate it is to cartoon Soundwave, because it's me we're talking about. I don't religiously watch the cartoons or anything, but it does look good. There's no denying that. I'm just going to look at his gun real quick. Not going to bother putting it in his hand because, you know, who cares? But the gun does look good. I do like how it stores just as a battery with the shoulder cannon thing. And yeah, it's nice. It is nice. My only real issue with this is the fact that it's kind of a pain in the butt to transform because the handle doesn't want to pull up, and this, once the handle pushes the tip out, does not want to come out either. I ended up having to use tools in both cases. But it looks good, and I like how when this pulls out, I'm not going to fully transform it, but I like how this kind of pulls out and just breaks up that cylindrical silhouette of the gun a little bit more, both making it longer and adding a little bit more interest to its just overall shape. I'm into that. And now let's take a look at Laserbeak and Ravage real quick. So Laserbeak, quite a difference from that rectangle that was the cassette. I really do like that transformation. It's very cool, and I like the fact that these sort of booster pod things that once upon a time were added accessories you had to stick onto the toy. Now they just fold out on their own. And that is really cool. Just the engineering on this guy is very, very neat. I really like how this all comes together. And I also like how, while you've got the tape stuff on the underside, as ugly as the backside of that tape was, that red on the back is really just works really well with the rest of this. Laserbeak is very nifty, and I typically like having him perched on Soundwave's shoulder or his arm when he's on display, because he's a neat little partner in crime. And then Ravage. Ravage is neat, but a little bit finicky. His legs are a little bit on the loose side, and his paws don't tend to want to stay up, but still, getting this from a tape is really impressive. And he is quite posable. It's just, you know, getting those paws kind of situated. I do very much like him. I've actually been thinking I should try and get my hands on the Ocular Max Jaguar, because I think it'd be really cool to have a more proportional version of Ravage to go with Masterpiece Soundwave. But yeah, Ravage does look good as well. And it's, you know, black and silver. It's pretty much all he does, but it does have a little bit of red for the eyes, which, given the size of this guy, is actually really impressive. And there's some nice kind of textural stuff in there. I gotta give him credit, too, for how kind of clever it is to have the face kind of as two separate parts that sandwich together. Yep, Ravage is a neat little tape Jaguar. And for some quick size comparisons, here's our Titans Return Deluxe, Samus, and because how could you not, because it's a Masterpiece thing, Masterpiece Prime. So yeah, Soundwave is big, not quite as tall as MP-10, but he is a sizey, he's a sizey figure, and I am totally cool with that. Get you two out of the way here. And I also think this looks good, like having the two sort of animation accurate-ish guys standing next to each other. This looks good. I think that is about going to do it. I do quite like Masterpiece Soundwave. He's a nifty guy. A bit basic, but I mean, he turns into a box, so yeah. He does look great, though. And it's a really nice color combination of that blue and silver with a little bit gold. Tiny, tiny red accents here and there. It's great. The proportions are nice. He's just a nifty fellow, and he has some cool minions. Gotta respect the minions. Not those minions. These minions. Anyway, I think that's gonna do it. So, that has been my look at Masterpiece Soundwave. It's been a long time coming, and I really do like this guy. Soundwave has often been a favorite of mine, and just having him as a Masterpiece animation accurate-ish figure has been really, really cool. I'm hoping that at some point we get since we got the movie Masterpiece Bumblebee in Prime, I'm hoping that at some point we may get a movie Masterpiece Soundwave. While I'm at it, I might as well wish for a movie Masterpiece Blackout too, because I think those would be really cool. But for now, this will do nicely. So Yep, that is my look at Masterpiece Soundwave. Thank you, everybody, for watching. As per usual, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Any combination of those three would make me a happy Rob. And remember, art is more than meets the eye.